almost dedicate all your life on this subject?
When I was 15, I lived in Melbourne, Australia, and I read a book called On the Beach by Neville Shute, and it was about a nuclear war that occurred by accident, and everyone in the world was killed. But the people in Melbourne, because it's so far south, were still alive, and gradually they waited for the radioactive cloud to come down, and the government dispensed cyanide capsules so parents could kill their babies like that instead of dying of the revolting vomiting and diarrhea and bleeding to death. At the end of that book, the beautiful, elegant streets of Melbourne were still there. A blind was gently flapping in the breeze, and that was the end of life on earth. And that image never left me. Then I went to medical school age 17, and I learnt about a man called Muller, who irradiated with X-rays Drosophila fruit flies, and they developed mutations for crooked wings and abnormal legs and strange, which were passed on generation to generation. I was only 17, and I knew then Russia and America were blowing up bombs in the atmosphere with no heed to what the radiation would do to people, and I couldn't understand, as a 17-year-old medical student, what these men thought they were doing. And I still can't understand it. And I still can't understand why they think nuclear power is a glorious thing. Nuclear power plants are actually bomb factories. And sometimes they explode, like a nuclear explosion, like Chernobyl, like that. And sometimes they just melt down. But the same elements that are released when you blow up bombs are made in nuclear power plants. So all my life I've been concerned, and not until 1971 when I found out that the French were blowing up their bombs at Mururoa Atoll in the Pacific, and we got a lot of fallout in Adelaide where I lived, that I wrote a letter to the newspaper, and they published it, and that night I was asked to speak on television about how children could get leukemia from strontium-90 and cancers. And every time the French blew up another bomb, there I was on television. And in 9 months, 75% of Australians rose up en masse, spontaneous marches in the city streets. Postmen wouldn't deliver French mail. People stopped buying French wine or French cheese. So our Prime Minister and the New Zealand Prime Minister took France to the International Court of Justice, and she was forced to test underground. So I saw what President Jefferson said: an informed democracy will behave in a responsible fashion. And right now the media is determining the fate of the earth. And if people like me and scientists can get on and inform Mr. and Mrs. Brown or Chen or about the dangers, then you will find that your politicians will respond to Mr. and Mrs. Brown, because if they don't, they won't be elected to office. That's called democracy.